Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight, we welcome you to another captivating episode of America in Black and White. In this episode, we are honored to have the insightful Ajani Johnson as our special guest. Join us as we delve into the thought-provoking discussions, shedding light on the complexities and nuances of the American experience. Let me just tell you guys a little something about Ajani. He was born in New Jersey. He grew up in Miami. That's where he learned to speak Spanish. He worked as a jewelry merchandiser for the Smithsonian Museum in D.C. That's when the desire to travel internationally hit him. He became a travel agent and started seeing the world. He learned that people across the globe are not that different. That desire to meet and know people led him to want to be a therapist. He struggled emotionally growing up so much, and he knew to help others. He had to help first himself, but then he learned he went to school and got his bachelor's degree in international business and a master's degree in mental health counseling. It took 3 years after his master's degree to get 3,000 hours to get licensed. He's now a therapist in the BetterHelp platform, and he has a private practice. He's very passionate about his work. He takes helping others very seriously, and his greatest success has been working with addictions and the LGBTQ community. Someone has to help underserved populations, and he figures that he will work with anyone who's willing to change. Change is not easy. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ajani Johnson.
Hey, Charles, thank you.
How
That was
are
nice
you?
to hear all those things about myself. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we get going?
No, I thought that covered it. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
the invitation. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, so I just wanted to just let them know that in this segment, we're gonna explore the diverse cultural landscape that makes America truly unique. From the melting pot to the salad bowl, we uncover how different cultures coalesce to form the rich tapestry of American society. So tell us about your journey and how you, as we read in your bio, when you started and wanted to become a therapist. Tell us what made you decide that therapy was the thing you wanted to do.
Um, that's always a good question because everybody should know why they have the passion for what it is they do. For me, it was really hard growing up. I grew up in a broken home. There was domestic violence, very young, and I felt very helpless to the situation. My father, he was, drinking and beating my mother and beating us. And, if you grow up as a child learning that you can't do anything to stop the situation, it can be very painful. So I had to learn to take the pain that I had as a child and really turn it into, as they say, a mess into a message. And even as a child, my mother would say, before I could read, I would get the Bible and pretend like I'm preaching. And I was always that kid that people thought I was going to be a preacher. So I thought that meant I had to have a church and I had to be in the pulpit. But I knew that really wasn't my style and that really wasn't for me. But so I ran around and did a bunch of other things like being a travel agent, which was a lot of fun. And then I decided to try to be a therapist because I thought, well, I do have a gift because people are always sharing their stories with me. I could be sitting at the bus stop and somebody just says, oh, I have a problem. And I was like, why does this keep happening to me? Why do people keep sharing their stories? So I figured, what can I do as a profession that would allow me to use my ministry and also help others? And that's what encouraged me to become a therapist. And also Hurricane Katrina, watching that on television was the main reason I decided to go back to school to get a master's degree in counseling, because I saw those people. I was living in DC. I saw those people helpless, needing help, being called immigrants, whatever. And I just felt the pain. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to learn to be able to be a part of the solution. And that's what really did it for me.
So, in going into therapy, um, tell me, how long have you been doing that? And in the process, does it get to a point that you've got to woosah?
That's every day. We call that self care, the woosah part. But because it's not just a job, it's my passion and my ministry. I don't really experience the burnout, because as soon as I get tired, I get replenished by my faith. I'm not religious, but I am a spiritual person. So I use that a lot in my work. And that's when clients go, "How did you know that about me?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just trying to help you work through these things." And I think that's the beauty of it, is that I am allowed to use my gifts. But sometimes it does get difficult when the people that you try to help will attack you. Sometimes that happens. Hurt people will hurt people. And sometimes they will turn on you and think that you are the problem. And that, when I first started, it was really hard to deal with that. People would tell me their sad stories and they'd start crying and I would start crying. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through, being a therapist like this. They called me the crying therapist when I first started. Um, I figured I can't work like this. But the more I started working and being a therapist and listening to people's issues and challenges, the more used to that, and then not over identifying. It's their issues, not my issues. So I was able to learn to not take it on myself, but to be able to just be a help.
Oh wow! So, well then, just tell my audience about just from the therapist perspective, and mental health, and basically, what are some of the concepts and the things that make it work, and when people should be looking for signs of things.
That's a good question too. I'm a different kind of therapist, I think, than most, because um, I learned the theories in the books. I learned in my licensure. I learned all of those things. But what I realized that was really seemed to be missing, even in my own experience, needing therapy and going to therapy, was someone who identified with me. Someone who could understand what it's like to struggle, someone who just got it, and so I approach it from that standpoint. My most important part of therapy is bonding. I use that time to really um, find out why the person is having the issues they're having, who they are. I like to treat them as an individual. Sometimes when you know the books, it's really going based on a large population of people. So now I'm like, okay, let me learn to treat these people as individuals. But in order to do that, I've got to get to know them. But in order to do that, they've got to keep coming to therapy. So I do like the fact that we utilize now telehealth is big. That's what I do. I'm home. I work from home now. I was working at other jobs, but I realized that it reduces the amount of absenteeism, because most people, they don't have to go anywhere. They're right at home. And but it also presents challenges, because now all I have is this box, and I don't get to see their body language. I don't get to, see how they move. So I've gotten really good at reading faces.
Mhm.
So now I tell them, I see your face. I see that face. They'll tell me something, and I'm like, yeah, but your face isn't saying that. So it is helpful to learn now. And COVID really changed the landscape for therapists. Before COVID, it was really hard to find jobs that paid well. It was hard to find jobs that were committed to our growth. But after COVID and during COVID, a lot of people sought out therapy because it was a very stressful time. So our career goals really jumped tremendously after COVID, because now there are people who really are seeking therapy. And then you have other things that are going on in society, school shootings that are affecting, just so many things that are affecting even not just older people, but a lot of the young people. A lot of things are going on. So it's really good to be a part of the solution, and instead of just kind of sitting at home wishing I could do something. Every day I get a chance to do something to help somebody. I think that's helpful too.
Well, well, what's really wonderful about that is, let's I want to let's delve into like some specificities, like like um, tell me when it comes to the Black community in general, as well as the Black LGBTQ community, when it comes to mental health. Tell me what is being missed, and what are some of the signs that people should be looking at, in order to keep themselves healthy, especially from the mental perspective, because a
Hmm.
lot of people don't believe that they need to go to therapy.
Right. I think the most that I've seen are the people who need therapy the most are the ones who tend not to get it at all. My struggle really, and especially in regards to the Black community, is needing help. The stigma behind reaching out for help. Where sometimes we have to be tough. We have to handle everything ourselves. But I challenge the Black community to please reach out, because if anybody needs help on navigating things every day, it is the Black community. They did these studies on PTSD and how it affects the brain and changes the brain chemistry. And we surely have a lot of that going on with the different things that we have to experience. LGBTQ and other communities, people ask me, well, as a therapist, what kind of therapy do you work? I work with anybody who needs some help. The theories work for everybody. So if they
Yeah.
need help, I don't, it's not my job to judge what someone else is doing with their life. As long as they're not hurting anybody, that's fine. But a lot of times I think people get embarrassed, they get ashamed. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of, you think you know me, but you don't know me. And trying to share some secrets are very hard for a lot of people. So I do try to definitely, they call me, like they say, you're like a friend with a lot of intuition. And that, but I do that on purpose so that they will be relaxed enough to allow me into those, those doors, open those doors where you got that stuff hidden. And if they get relaxed enough, they'll say, I've never told anybody this. But then they tell me. I used to work with the courts, and I would see the tough, the thuggish, and they would come in and they would start to cry. And I was like, why
Wow.
did these people come to my office and cry? And then I realized, because they need a safe space. They need a space where they don't feel judged, they feel comfortable, and they don't mind sharing. So it's about how you present yourself. But the thing that I offer all of my clients is care. I do actually care. And I think that makes a big difference. But as far as challenges, I think I wish that people would just like embrace it a little bit more in terms of mental health. It's something I call mental hygiene. It's not just me. I mean, I got it, but I use it. And it's just like brushing your teeth or combing your hair or taking a shower. Every day you should work on your mental health, just like naturally. That means affirmations. I am good. I am enough every day. Something, meditation. YouTube has all these great meditation things. Some people can't meditate. They have all kinds of resources now that you can utilize. And I think those things are really helpful in taking care of yourself every day. Because if you don't have your mental health together, if you're on medication, if you're depressed, 9 times out of 10, you don't care. You're not going to take it. So I think it's important to really focus on how we feel every day. I ask every one of my clients every session, how do you feel today? What is your feeling word? And I do that, one, because they can't say today nobody asked them how they were feeling, because a lot of times people don't ask. And two, it allows them an opportunity to say, wait a minute, how am I feeling? What is it I'm feeling? and to be in touch, because awareness is really important.
Oh wow, that's really a lot. So let's take this towards a gender perspective because what I've actually been reading a lot as of lately
Mhm.
is the weight that a lot of us as black men have been carrying around for generations,
Yeah.
carrying around all of this weight, all of this stress, and all of this worry about survival, about having a job, about being in relationships. Those things have, I mean, just when you mentioned that PTSD, I'm thinking that all of that is like making a lot of black men really depressed. What
Yeah.
do you think are some of the things we can do to help a lot of black men to kind of like at ease this a little bit and maybe kind of like ease into therapy so they know that it's great?
You got some good questions. That's important. I think one of the things I tell people, they say, oh, he's lazy. He doesn't want to go out and find a job, but they don't realize he could be depressed. And it's
Mhm.
hard to get out of the bed and look for a job when you don't even care about waking up, when you don't care about tomorrow. It's hard to want to be a part of a society that acts like they hate you, or
Mhm.
you're getting stopped and you're getting questioned just because of the color of your skin. And one of the things that I will say, black therapists in this country are less than 1% of all of the therapists.
Oh,
So now you take
wow.
that, put how many black men out of the one less than 1%, and then you keep going, and by the time you get to me, you got about 5 therapists left that that are actually able to identify with a lot of different types of people. But I think just acknowledging the struggle that black men have, which is unique. It's a very unique struggle. And when I do get a black male, the first thing I always have to do is tell them, you don't have to explain yourself. I'm a black man. I understand it. They
Oh,
go,
wow.
they say, but I'm so used to explaining myself all the time, because we always have to explain ourselves. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? So after a while, people get tired. They get tired of having to do all of that mental work. It's exhausting. So I think helping black men understand that there are people who care, because a lot of times we don't, and that it's okay to feel. That's the other thing. Getting criticized. I was sort of fortunate in that I had a father who cried. So I
Mhm.
grew up not thinking that it was wrong to cry. But
Mhm.
a lot of men are socialized. You don't cry. You have to be strong. But what we're seeing with the young men now, a lot of that old way is not working.
Mhm.
We need to change the dynamics. We need to change the verbiage. We need to stop putting pressure on people to be something that they're not. All of them are not leaders. Some are followers. They talk
Mhm.
about alpha and beta and women, and don't hit women. These boys will hit a woman. They will hit a girl. That's
Mhm.
something I grew up in. They say you don't do that. Those
Right.
things, the parents are telling, don't let anybody hit you. So
Right.
it's a very different time. And in terms of, the gay population, oh, well, it's because the fathers aren't in the home. Well, what about the gay people who had fathers in the home? Come on, let's stop these old tales and telling ourselves things that we know are not true. We know
Right.
it's true, but we keep holding on. And okay, so say it is. Okay, that's the reason. Then why aren't more black men flocking back to the homes then? If you're so
Mm.
concerned about this issue, get back in the homes. Start being there.
Mhm.
We're not saying that. Go ahead.
But I think just as we going forward from like let's say the days where you and I grew up, where things were like taboo and it was straight and narrow, and we had all the structure that we didn't need, but it was there.
Yeah.
So the evolution of times coming into this 21st century, what do you think its part that it's played its part in how a lot of kids in the urban communities are growing up, and these things are like totally different because we know that these are things they do some things that we would never do. But
Yeah.
why do you think that's happening?
If you don't remember or teach the history, you'll forget it and you're doomed to repeat it. And I
Hmm.
think we are not, they're trying to take it out of schools, Black history, but we have to fight. And I'm encouraged though, because if you go on any social media now, you will see people posting all kinds of stuff about Black people who've done great things in this country. And I think that's important to note that there are people taking that charge because it does start at home. It really needs to start at home. We can't worry about what other cultures do. Oh, well, the Chinese culture, and they stick together. We can't worry about what other cultures are doing. We need to fix ourselves. Let's work on us before we start wondering and worrying about what other people are getting away with. And, a lot of the things now, we have sojourned in this country so long now, we are losing our minds. We thinking they can go in stores and take whatever they want because they come from a place where people just took what they wanted. And if you
Yeah.
go without time, so let's start trying to fix ourselves and work on the main thing that I see, and this is what I've realized, is there is an attack on love. I think love is the powerful thing that we need. Love is the healing thing that we need. If we can love each other more, that would be more powerful than anybody can break from us. They wouldn't be able to break us if we continued to love each other. And I think that's the key for us, to continue to just be proud of ourselves, because the ones that we're seeing that are falling and breaking into stores and doing bad things, there's other children that are doing great things. The smartest kids in the country are turning out Black kids. They're creating inventions and all kinds of things across the world and in Africa. They get very little press. I know if I post something that's Black oriented, positive on my page, you get maybe a few likes. You post a fight on a social media and you get thousands of likes. So, I think we need to work on our priorities a little bit.
So, just as you mentioned that, I mean, I'm sorry, I had to laugh about that because, there was, I happened to be scrolling social media, and I actually seen, I don't know why that popped up in the algorithm, but that I never actually look at, but it popped up on on part of my social media. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, that kind of like had me a little bit afraid, because I'm just thinking like this is like crazy to see people loving this, egging this on, but they're doing nothing to stop it, and everybody's got a phone and they're like videoing. And I'm thinking, why is that? Well, I mean, what's happening to the social construct of the mental that's causing people to just like now not be about the helping of one another, but just wanting to see destruction? What do you think is causing that?
If you can destroy yourself, somebody else doesn't have to do it.
Hmm.
So you take the work away from those who want to see you down. By you just doing it yourself, you make it easy. And I
Hmm.
think it's time out for that. It really is. Destroying yourself. We're not going anywhere. We've been here, and Black people are not going anywhere. Gay
Right.
people have been here. They're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
And they have a right, and we all have a right, and this world is big enough for everybody. So
Hmm.
trying to push people out and disenfranchise people and I think what happens is you end up in the middle of a karmic revenge type of thing, because after a while, if you keep trying to tear somebody else down, you're just setting yourself up for karma. So it's how you treat people. And I think these younger people, we haven't done a good job in teaching them about our past. We haven't done a good job. We gave them material things, and we'll give them Jordans at 3 years old. And those who do that, they have the money, that's fine. But to be sacrificing just for material things and not giving children love, you will see it in the long run. And that's what I think we're seeing now. I think we're seeing a lack of love in our community.
Oh wow. So, with people saying that love is subjective,
Yeah.
and so people love in many different ways.
Mhm.
How is it that we could get people to see from a mental perspective? What is it that we can do to get people to see love in a beautiful light and what we think it should be? It's kind of like like doing something like a subliminal message. What can we do to help in that perspective?
I think religion for a lot of the community is important, but I think we're getting some messages there that, they're saying one thing and doing something else. If we could restore what people had their faith in, we'd be able to conquer a lot of these things. But now I think the faith is in entertainment and being, numb to what's going on. Because if we continue to see these things happening, eventually you won't feel the effects of them. So I think in terms of love, it's a smile, because that's something that you just don't see. You walk down the street. There's a clip I saw on social media, and they were spoofing how a non-black person could walk into a building and just walk past all these black people, and everybody's saying hi and hello, and then they brought a black person, and they're like scowling at them, and that's an experience. That's an experience I've had. I can get black people that I see in public, instead of smiling, scowling, frown.
Yes.
It happens all the time. But I think, if we could turn our faces into just, being more pleasant, like we don't hate the image that we see in the mirror. Because how can you hate somebody on the street that you don't even, so you're scowling at somebody for what reason? And
So
trust.
let me just ask
Go
you:
ahead.
Is that not the example? Is that not the example of self-hate? Because apparently they have to have something they hate about themselves when they don't know you, when they see you, and they got this ugly scowl on their face and they're mad at you for no reason. Is that an example of self-hate?
I think so. Because what else could it be? But it's also conditioning.
Mm,
Everything that we talk about in this country that's black is bad, down to black
right.
cats, the color
Yes.
black. And in order for me to break that, I had to think that everything white was bad, because
Okay.
I
Oh,
knew, because I had to fight my own colorism within my
okay.
own head. And by
All right.
doing that, at least it balanced me out, because I was like, because we come in contact with each other so much that sometimes all we see are, the ugly side of things. And when I grew up, no child should have to feel the way that I felt growing up as a black child. I used
Mm.
to wish that I was blind so that I couldn't see the ugliness. And no child should have to wish they were blind because the world that they see is so ugly. I just think that the self-hatred, the colorism, a white person called me a mixed race person this week. That was the first time I had ever heard that in my life. Because to me, I'm just, I'm just one race, human race, but and I was like, although I do know I have white in my family, but it was surprising to me. So I kind of got a jolt this week on that. But this colorism thing, it still exists. The
Right.
brown paper bag thing, it still exists. The pretty girls are the light skinned girls and the ones with the hair. We're still doing that. We're still doing it. So we can't keep blaming other people for the stuff that we are perpetuating.
I want you to answer this question for me because the point you just hit on is one that's really, really, it's deep. It's cutting, and it's one that could possibly destroy our entire culture. Why is it that you think that people that see, um, let's say, well, not what people see. Let's just say, why is it that here in the 21st century, that divide and conquer still works within the African American community is causing so much destruction that the things that we were talking about earlier about how people look at you when they see you when you walk into a place that they feel like only they should be the only few black people that can come into this place and mix with everybody else. But why do you think divide and conquer works so much now here in the 21st century when it's now at this time that it's a dire time for being African American, period? Why do you think that works?
I think because a house divided cannot stand. If you
Mhm.
continue to divide us, we can never come together. And when we have come together in the past, we built communities, they were burned down. So
Mhm.
this is not just Black people's fault.
Mhm.
We have this Black History Month, but then you have people saying, they said Black people were saying horrible things about President Obama. So it's not just, certain types of Black people. We just have Black people that want to talk about these issues seem to be a little bit louder than the other people. But I think we are our own worst enemy at this point. I think we need to realize that we need to get our own house in order. And I wish we could go back to the time when you kept your business in your house to yourself. Because now they're posting these things for the world to see. That's the other problem. And I feel like as a person who has worked hard, fought through a lot of adversity, why do I have to suffer for the people who are making us look bad? But when as family, we family, so I'm like, I gotta take it just like everybody else has to take it. But no matter what, I'm still trying to show the positive side of it. But yet, we got all these people on the news, on social media, doing all kinds of stuff that is embarrassing and humiliating. But we say we're family, so we all have to take it. But I don't like that. I don't like that I have to pay for all of the people that are doing bad things by Black people having this horrible image. And it's not just in this country. I watched a clip the other day, and these basketball players were getting off the bus, and these Asians were calling them the N word, loud and proud.
Mhm.
And they all the way across the world. So I think
Mhm.
we need to really start to look at ourselves. And I'm hearing anytime somebody Black that complains, like this guy that went to the restaurant, I forget his name. He came to Atlanta, and he critiques these different restaurants. Boy, the people came out after him, but some of that stuff was true. A lot of that stuff was true. But we feel like we can't criticize ourselves for the stuff that we do. That's not right. And that's what keeps it going. If we
Mhm.
think, oh, this pastor, he did this, he did that, he's sleeping with girls and boys and doing all this stuff, but you touch not thine anointing. Don't say anything bad about God's. I'm like, so you're just gonna give a pass to people to just do whatever in the name of Black? That just it's there's a lot of things that just don't make any sense, which is why we're acting like we ain't got no sense. And we
Mhm.
really, but there's a lot of us who are fighting the good fight. And I dare not take away the credit from those people, yourself being one, doing what you can. I think if everybody does what they can, we can get out of this, but we have to do it together. And you can't just say only the alpha males, Black males do it. We're going to leave the gay people behind. We can't leave nobody behind. I
No,
don't,
sir.
every one move, we all move.
Right.
That's
Now, as you say that, um, you know, um, I want to make sure I phrase this properly because sometimes when you speak on some things when it's a lot of truth, a lot of, as the old people used to say, a hit dog will holler.
Yes, I know. I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, oh Lord, I gotta watch what I'm saying. I just talk. I just talk. I
Well,
don't.
no, but you see, this is the truth that we need, and so it's just like every time, just in accordance with the show, and the purpose of this platform is to be informative for our communities, to grow our communities, and to develop our communities. And so sometimes when we look at those men and women in the mirror, look at yourself.
Yeah.
You have to realize, if these are some of the things that you're doing then you've got to be better.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, and and just how the way American Black and White is structured, I myself want to make sure that people in all of our communities that are, especially the ones that are underdeveloped, you know, we should not be separating the way we're separating, because I think the criticisms and that of jumping down on those that people feel like they're on top of or they're better than.
Mhm.
How do we change that mentality? Because that mentality is just like the oppressors.
Mhm.
And those that are doing that, they know who they are. So how do we change that? So they should be learning more so about learning and cohesiveness of coming together.
I don't think everybody's going to want that because there are people who clearly don't care. So that's fine. But it's those who have an ear, let them hear. So I've learned a long time ago. I used to say, oh, let me carry the burden of the Black community. Let me try to do, until I started just being pulled down by experience after experience of trying to help people that did not want it. So now I choose wisely, and that's in my practice also. People that want it, because I don't have the energy anymore like I did when I was younger to try to carry that burden. So now I just make sure that I try to help those who really want it, and that's the main thing. Because for the people, Bible scholars would say, all are not going to be saved. So I think at this point we have to really get the people who want to make a change and then come together, because without that, change is very difficult. But not to minimize the challenges that we are up against. We are up against some real serious challenges right now, with the way the world is going. Not just, but I'm seeing a lot of 20 somethings I have as clients. One of the main things that I hear from them is, I don't have enough time. I feel like I'm going to run out of time. When I was 20, I thought I had all the time in the world.
Okay.
It was like, God, I can't wait till I get 20. I can't wait till I get, you're just thinking that everything is moving so slowly. But nowadays, everything is moving so fast. I remember when the music videos started moving fast, and now everybody is moving so fast. The problem with moving fast is, like, if you're in a car, you're moving fast. What are you not seeing? You're not seeing the things clearly that are on the sides of you. And that's the things that sometimes will surprise you and they will sneak up on you. So we need to keep our eyes and our ears and our senses open to receive the messages and information.
Well, if you can, I need you to share with us a specific instance where a setback led to personal growth or success for you.
Oh my goodness. uh, wow. A setback. They always say a setback is for a comeback, but is a setup for a comeback. But I think, ooh, that's a that's a tough question. Okay, so a setback. I had a client when I was first starting out who was really had done something that he didn't want to talk about, and it was so horrible. He said he couldn't talk about it. And I worked in a mental hospital at the time, and the doctor said that he was just seeking attention, and that I was to stop talking to him and give him no more attention. Within about 3 days, he locked himself in the bathroom of the hospital room and he killed himself. And
Oh,
that, to me, was the most devastating thing that I had ever felt, because part of it, I felt like it was my fault because he was reaching out to me and I had to keep telling him no. But what that did for me was to say, if somebody wants to kill themselves, there is nobody that can stop them. That's just a fact. I don't care if you caught them that time and you were able to help them. If they really want to go, they'll do it again and they'll do it again. But what you can do is try to be there for them, but you can't keep anybody alive. And the comeback for me has been in my own life when I was challenged. I went through a lot of hell in my life, and I shared that because it's turning that mess into a message. So I do share that. But that was one of the most devastating things. But it makes me a better therapist today because now I realize I'm nobody's savior. I'm here to help, but I
Mhm.
can't save anybody. And
Right.
that is important for therapists to understand. We can't. We might feel bad, but trying to save someone is not what we do.
Oh wow. So tell me this: who has been your biggest mentor or source of inspiration in your life and career?
My greatest mentor. I don't have a lot because I pretty much did things by myself. I left home 35, 36 years ago away from my family because I just couldn't handle it. The things they were doing, the ways they were treating each other, tearing each other down instead of building each other up. I left and then I had to come back 35 years later to face my family. And it was hard. But I think I would say my greatest, aside from my spiritual side, I don't really know because I've never had anybody really to model my life after. I had to find it and figure it out for myself. I had to learn how to love myself. And that was really hard because when you grow up and everything around you is telling you you're ugly and you're unwanted and you're no good, trying to figure it out is not easy. So I really, there are like, it's the entertainers, Muhammad Ali at one time back in the day was just everything. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. I used to do a puppet show on Martin Luther King. So I will say, in my formative years, I used to go to schools and parks and I would do, puppet shows with Martin Luther King puppets and the whole, because I figured I was going to do whatever I could to make a difference, even if it's just one small thing. But I would say, those are the people that I really admired, and Mandela, all of those people that just fought and continue to fight for us to, have some dignity and respect.
How do you approach creating content that fosters positive change within the community?
I share my stories. I share my struggles. That's what I do in my therapy sessions as part of my bonding. People who go through things, I'm like, well, if I can do it, I feel like I can share with somebody else how they might be able to do it. I give ideas and things like that. But I think um, the main thing for me is making sure that I am an example of what I want to see in the world.
So, do you believe that positive reinforcement is a good thing to help esteem and to bring people into focus as to what their lives should possibly look like?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about anything that's positive. Children are like sponges, even not just even children. I think these days people are so ready to receive information. That's that dopamine that we get when we're scrolling through our phones and we're looking at all these different things. We're constantly getting hit with dopamine. So I think that if we can just manage to stay positive, use your affirmations, and I'm starting to see some changes, though. I'm starting to see posts where people are telling, Queen, good, all right, Queen, all right, King, all right, praising our children. I just want to see it off of social media and in the public. That's it's easy to kind of do that when you're behind the camera and at home in the safety of your house. But let's start seeing it, in the public. Let's start being more pleasant to each other. Let's start holding each other up to higher standards in public so that other people won't be so afraid to, see us as human beings and see us as equals because we've done always great things. I mean, and we always use the phrase, we built this country. We built great countries and great empires. We are not going anywhere. So we need to get this right. We need to get it right.
So, let me just ask you this because I'm thinking that in some shape, form, or fashion of conducting at least some other form of a social experiment.
Okay.
in that experiment, what I'm thinking of, and you tell me if this is possible and how this can be done, but
Mhm.
like I want to put people here on like on two different sides and give them the opportunity to just engage. I want to put heterosexual people here and homosexual people here, and nobody knows who is who. Nobody knows what is what. But I want to give them the opportunity to actually engage with each other as civilized individuals. You don't know this person from Adam Housecat, but what you're learning is we're doing networking.
Right.
Do you think that's a possibility of an experiment that could turn out to be a really good positive thing?
Of course, because I think most of the time we don't give people a chance to get to know them. And
Mm-hmm.
there have been times when there are people I thought I didn't like and I couldn't stand them until I got to know them, and then I was wrong. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. So I know, that old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. I think that's the case. And you see it in race relations where two people have to work together, black and white, and they become friends. They get to know each other because they didn't know anything about, each other. Or I'm struck as long as black people have been in this country, how little people really know about us. I
Mm-hmm.
think, there's not enough interaction. If people aren't looking at social media, if they're not watching television, but in certain areas of this country, you won't see certain people on their TV. You won't see certain people in their commercials. I've had white people tell me I didn't see a black person until my first year of college.
Oh,
And
what were they in North Dakota?
I don't know, but I know that's true for a lot of people. That's true for a lot of people.
Let me stop
True.
that.
But some of it's intentional because a certain mindset that you have, if you don't have to worry, you don't have to see them, they're not really real.
Right.
They're not real people. They don't have real feelings. But
Mm-hmm.
we do have real feelings, and we are real people, and we deserve that. But social media is a good thing, but social media is also a very, very bad thing for us right now. But I think absolutely any experiment that you think you can bring people together who would not normally come together under the premise of let's build bridges instead of walls is a good
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Okay. Can you share thoughts on the impact of media representation in challenging stereotypes?
Mhm. Uh, you know, Tracy Chapman was at the Grammys the other day, and everybody was just marveling at how beautiful she still looks and how great her music sounds. But people don't remember that she broke from the stereotypical black entertainer with her music.
Yes.
She was very different, but look how it has withstood the time, and she still gets the respect that she deserves. I think, I got called, I was too white, I talk too white. Kids still go through that, and I'm old, and they still are doing this. I would tell them after a while, I got so tired of hearing that I tell them the only reason you're saying that I'm too white is because you don't know me. Because if you knew me,
Well,
you wouldn't say that. But
right.
to hear that, and I was getting it a couple of years ago when I lived in New Orleans. They would say, "Why you hang around all these white people?" I'm like, they're my neighbors. They live right next door. That kind of stuff. So I think exposure to different types of people. That's one of the reasons I became a travel agent, so I could go to different countries and see different people. And by doing that, it really changed my perspective on stereotypes. And if you think that a certain person, because they're born with a certain color, they're going to act a certain way, that is a stereotype. That is not the truth. And we are not all the same. We're not.
Exactly.
We should be allowed to be different instead of saying, well, all black people do this. All black people eat this. You're not black if you don't do this. We're at fault for some of these stereotypes because we keep saying that all black people do this. And that's just not true.
Well, so wouldn't that just be a part of the thing that society has done where the grouping of black people is they all do this? And so some that have taken that on mentally actually live that and believe that.
I think that's part of it. I think also it's part of it is claiming family. We are family. So as a family, we do this, which is important to know. But in families, they're different too. Everybody is different. But I do understand because it's supposed to seem like, we're much stronger as we stick together because we stick together. So we are a force to be reckoned with because we are family. But I'm not sure that that's translating too well right now.
What steps can individuals take to promote inclusivity in their communities?
Get to know people around you. Some people back in the day, you knew who your neighbor was. You could go borrow a cup of sugar. You could go borrow a cup of milk. Now, and I'm guilty. Where I was living, I didn't know any of my neighbors. It's gotten to the point where we live right next to each other, and we don't even speak. But there's a trust issue also. Sometimes the people that look like you are the ones that hurt you the most. And that's difficult. That's difficult when you can't trust the people that look like you. And there's a lot of that mistrust going on because we've been hurt so much. I think the healing really has to go with our leadership. Our leadership, I'm not really sure if it's, like we don't have the Martin Luther King and the Malcolm X and the Jesse Jacksons but they're coming. I believe that they're coming because I see some great things happening with some of these young people. But trying to kill them, they said something about they didn't know we were seeds that would just grow. So I think we just need to really get our own mind. And yes, I do think the media is responsible for a lot of it. Just because someone feeds you something does not mean you have to eat it.
That is true. Now this is a really big question.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
How do you envision the future, and what role do you see yourself playing in shaping it?
Well, that's a good question because at this point, I am starting to build my practice up. I was hesitant about building it too quickly. So I took my time to make sure that I knew what I was doing. I knew what I wanted to do. So I started taking insurance. Now I'm starting to take Medicare. It's big for me to take Medicare because now I can work with people who can't really afford therapy, can't really afford some of the services. But with Medicare, if they want it, they can access it. And I feel like the things that I have seen in my therapy sessions with change, really, I have seen some real change. I mean, people are really doing the work. And I see myself as having, maybe I'm coupling with hopefully a nurse practitioner that I know. I'm hoping that we can kind of get together and kind of start a little organization ourselves. And with my heart and my mind and the struggle that I have been through, the calling is clear to me. I know I have to do something because I'm not one of those people that wants to keep sitting around complaining. So as far as that, I do want us to start an organization. I think if everybody does something, there's no way that we would not change for the better. But that's where I see myself at this point.
Well, that's a great space because I think as you continue to grow, and I think more of this reaching out into the community like you're doing, that's going to add more and more and more value than you can ever imagine. Because I go back to it again, and that is the purpose of what we do here is not about stardom; it's about connecting everybody together.
Right.
So people understand that this is not about, oh well, you want to blow up and be big. No, sir. As long as I can connect, if I connect 50 dots, one in each state, I'm happy so far. But I want to have way more than that, and I think that's what we're doing right now, and it's happening because when we get great people like you on that can share this experience, this is what people need to hear.
I agree. I agree with you. And thank you. I wanted to be invited to the table and you invited me. You are so I'm hoping that, this will be the beginning of more opportunities, not just for me, but for you also. So, because that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that we lift each other up and
Yep.
provide opportunities to grow. And you have helped me to grow today.
Well, I thank you for that. How can these active listeners that's listening right now support your mission and advocacy?
Get out and do something positive for somebody. They always tell you, do something nice for somebody today. And that's just not about me. That's about the bigger picture. I used to have a puzzle, and this would be one of the last analogies I come up. I used to have a puzzle in my office, and I would tell my clients, come in and start working on this puzzle because this puzzle pieces are your life. They're all over the place. Now, I want you to sit down and start working on it. And 9 times out of 10, I would see people take one puzzle piece that looked like it fit and try to force them together. And I would go, they don't fit. They would say, well, they look like they fit, but they don't. And I would say the other problem is you never looked at the picture that you're trying to create with these pieces. And that's how we have to do with our life sometimes. We have to take these pieces, make sure they fit together, and make sure that we as a community looks at the bigger picture, because there has to be a bigger picture than just all of these little pieces being scattered all over the place. And that's what I think you're talking about, getting these dots connected. And once we do that, there's nobody can stop us from that at that
Exactly.
point.
So, what challenges have you faced in advocating for equality, and how have you overcome them?
The only advocating that I have done for equality in the last year has been with transgenders, because I ended up having the heart for it. It was like they say, don't work with people that you don't think you can do a good job. I really understood it for a long time and decided, okay, I start getting those all of a sudden come there. So I started getting all the trans clients. And then my heart went out because I'm like, nobody deserves to be attacked. I had somebody say somebody threatened to cut their throat just out in public. So as far as advocating, I will advocate for anybody that is downtrodden unjustly. If it's unjust, I'm not okay with that, because I know what it's like to grow up in a household where you had no voice, no rights, no nothing, abused, all of that. I went through all of that. So anytime I see anybody who is going through that, I'm going to advocate by trying my best to help them, especially if they come to me for therapy. That's my goal the whole time that I'm talking to these people and getting to know, advocate for their happiness, for their joy, for them to stand up for themselves. But that's the particular community that lately I've been dealing with and trying to really see ally, understand. I'm not trans, so I can't really intrinsically get it, but I don't have to be that in order to help somebody get through these things in life, because we all go through stuff in life. And you don't need no special formula to try to help somebody. You just show them your heart and you care, and change will come. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. So I'm thankful for that, because I could be bitter. The stuff that I went through, I could be angry. I'm glad I'm not locked up in jail for the stuff that I've been through and the things that people have said and done. I thank God all the time I'm not locked up, because I'm like, Lord have mercy. These people think you can just say anything and do anything to people. But I have a lot to lose. The worst person in the world is somebody that don't have anything to lose. I have stuff to lose. So I keep looking forward. I keep my eyes focused on the bigger picture. And as long as I do that, I have purpose. And I think that's what the issue is for a lot of young people that I see. They feel like they don't have purpose.
Okay, let me give you your final question to get you off the hot seat.
Okay. No, I calmed down after a while. At first I was like I was nervous. Candid is interesting. Go ahead.
Could you share your insights on empowering the next generation to create positive change?
Oh, my insights. I did say, and I'm going to say it again, we have got to love each other. We have got to somehow get past this hatred, this hurt, this pain, all of these things that are coming up against us. We have managed to make it through tougher times than this. If we made it through those times, we can make it through this. It seems like we have more money, but less love. When we didn't have any money, we did have love. We stuck together. We made things happen. And then they say, I'm not my ancestors. That tells me that you don't know your ancestors and what they did. Because if you knew, you wouldn't be saying that. You're saying that because if somebody hit you, you're not going to just walk away. I understand that, but that phrase alone does not honor our ancestors. So I think we need to honor the people that came before us, and we need to know the struggles and what they went through so that we can never forget, because if we forget, we're doomed to repeat it.
Mm-hmm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard Mr. Ajani Johnson. Lots of nuggets on that mental health, and letting you know that love is in the air. Love is in the air. So I want to thank you for blessing us with your presence. This was wonderful. I appreciate you stopping by, because this is really, you did a really good job and we loved it.
Charles, I'm going to say, I don't know what I said because I don't remember. But I hope that anybody listening, if you're interested, you can always reach me on my email, ajani20036@gmail. And you can send me a message if you're interested in being a client. Just let me know. Or can they get in touch with you, Charles, if they know you or know your contact information?
Yes, they can. And the thing is, this show is also going to be be rebroadcasted on the YouTube channel. So as you give out the information, they should be able to get it.
Very good. Thank you so much. I hope I've helped in some way.
Well, of course you did. And again, and I hope that you would come back on the show. Anytime. And we appreciate all of the insightfulness that you just gave us.
Thank you so much, Charles. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.